What's the best toddler complaint you've ever gotten?
After a couple slices of pizza, 3-year-old bursts into tears and says, "My mouth wants more but my tummy doesn't." Me too, kid. Me too. Demanded to know how to say hola in Spanish, would not accept that hola was already Spanish, cried for hours. Toddler and I are in the truck for a 3-hour, mostly freeway trip. Toddler asks if she can have her window down. Begs. Says pretty please. Whines that she needs the window down. Answer is no. We're going 70 miles per hour for the next few hours. Thus begins the wailing. She cries, and cries, and cries. The window's not going down, I'm tuning her out, no problem, the music is on, I'm just driving and life is good. After probably 45 minutes of this, she slows down, gulps a few times, and in a tremulous voice asks, "Mommy, why am I crying?" I laughed so hard I nearly ran off the road. If you don't remember, I'm not telling you, kid. My toddler got mad that her poop came out in 2 pieces instead of 1. She accused my husband of cutting it while she wasn't looking. 5 Yo, you're old. Me, I'm not that old, with a slight tone of indignation. How old do you think I am? 5 Yo, the last number. My daughter had a complete existential breakdown one day when she found out that she was going to have to pee every day of her life. IDK if this is too gross, but when my son was 3, he had a tummy bug and came to me crying that his butt threw up. I was a restaurant server one night when a family came in. Normally, I'm not a fan of kids, but this one girl, like 5 or 6, broke the mold for me. There was a fire in her eyes, but she wasn't unruly. Just in the moment. I walk up to the table after they finish a seafood platter, and I hear the parents loudly saying something they obviously want me to hear. "No, honey, they don't let you take the lobster shells home." I could feel invisible elbows jabbing me in the ribs with their glances. Before I open my mouth to back up their story, she huffs and says, "Well, can I at least keep the eyeballs?" And then proceeds to hold up a fork with the lobster's eyes impaled onto the ends of the outside prongs, like a war chieftain with the head of an enemy. Adorable. When my daughter was 3, I told her to stop trying to draw on the dog with crayons. She threw the crayon on the floor, looked me dead in the eye and yelled, "Daddy, you're ruining my life." My kid hates it when I dance, which is understandable. As I'm very white, he was about 2, I was holding him grooving along to something. He looks me in the eye, and goes, "Daddy, no sing." "I'm not singing, I'm dancing." "Daddy, don't sing." "I'm not." Him, in tears, "Don't sing with your feet." Overheard at a grocery store, mom let her little boy pick out some ice cream. Kid chooses some sort of chocolate banana popsicle and mom says no. Kid starts crying. Mom says, "I thought you didn't like bananas." Kid immediately stops crying, says, "Oh yeah," and picks something else. My daughter, about 5, threw a wadded up piece of paper at us and ran away. We opened it up and she had written, "Can I have a snake?" Wife yelled, "No, you may not," and my daughter then came back almost in tears to ask why not. She said, "I ate all of my dinner, so why can't I have one?" Wife asked what that had to do with snakes, at which point we realized she had misspelled snack. Also, my son put us in a sort of reverse timeout once when he got angry. This consisted of him going into his room and refusing to come out, leaving us in peace and quiet. He essentially played himself. My 3-Yo had a meltdown because he wasn't in our 5-year-old wedding photos. He said we didn't love him and that's why we didn't even invite him to our wedding. I watched a friend's kid have a total breakdown because he wanted to have eaten ice cream. The thing was, he had ice cream. It was his dessert, and it was in a bowl in front of him. He could eat it. But the fact that he had to go through the mechanical motions of eating, to get the later point in time where he had had ice cream, was really just too much for him to bear. Watching tiny humans grapple with cause and effect is fascinating. My legs are sparkling. Edit, my legs had fallen asleep. Now that I've been working at home, I have a desk set up in my bedroom. Whenever I give my 3-year-old grief, he tells me to go back to work. When I was about 5, my parents gave me ice cream with chocolate sauce and I broke down crying. Took them a while to figure I was upset at the psycho-sick bastard who'd put gravy on my ice cream. Eventually they convinced me to try some and I enjoyed it. My aunt and younger cousin were visiting us once. He was 3 years old at the time, and my neighbors had a 3-year/0 as well. They were playing together in my backyard, when I hear my cousin scream, "No, I'm 3. You can't be 3, I'm 3," while tackling the other child. I worked at a preschool from this October to December as an assistant teacher. We had a playroom next to the classroom and one day we decided to go in there to play. In there was a shelf with a lot of dinosaurs to choose from. A child came up to me and said he wanted to play with the dinos. I said okay. This child just sat on the floor and looked like he was having the crisis of his life. Then began to cry, and when I asked him what was wrong, he said there's too many dinosaurs to choose from. When my nephew was 3 or 4, I found a cookie that he had stashed in a couch cushion. It was dry and gross and obviously had been there for a while. I immediately went and tossed it in the trash. My nephew saw this happen and immediately burst into tears. Full-on snotting, hysterical tears. Through his sobs he managed to choke out the words, "You don't throw away cookies." My husband and I use this saying often. My nephew had a breakdown and cried when his boot wouldn't fit on his head like a hat. My wife woke the kids up and told them it was Monday, so they needed to get ready for school. Don't like Monday. Hate Monday. You're Monday. Directed at wife. Edit, this was from a 4-year-old. A kid asked for an envelope. So I gave her one. She started screaming and crying, "I want an envelope." She meant cantaloupe. My boy cried when, after stuffing his sandwich in the VHS recorder, early 90s, there was no movie about sandwiches. When my little sister was a toddler, she screamed she couldn't go to sleep because her pajamas were too spicy. Asked if she could have one piece of candy, and I said yes. She then asked, "Can we compromise?" And I replied that we didn't need to compromise because she was already getting exactly what she wanted. Child proceeds to throw a tantrum until I agree that we can compromise. She eats her candy and leaves happily. My 6-year-old yelled, "I'm too tired to go to sleep," in a fit of delirium and rage. My little sister, laying on her back, staring straight into the lamps, my eyes hurt. Then stopped staring at the lamp. No. I yawned with my mouth really wide and my little sister told my mom I was trying to eat her. I once asked a 1-year-old to share her snack with me. Common psych experiment, you give them the snacks first. Instead of using the prop, she walked across the lab to her mom and started to pull her mom's shirt down to share her boob. My kids used to complain when I couldn't change the weather. "No, we can't go to the park, it's pouring." "Mom, just make it stop raining." Little kids really do think their parents can do anything, apparently. I specifically remember the moment I realized I had to breathe for the rest of my life. I was super bummed. That's how inherently lazy I am. I was somewhere around 3 or 4. My daughter once said, "I don't like it when you talk." Noted. The 3-year-old found a mitten on the ground and put it on. He asked where the other one was and I said I didn't know. He looked down and said, like it was a unique problem, "But I have 2 hands." My dad always reminded me of when I was very little. I used to complain that I didn't like the pizza bone crust. I would also refuse to eat corn with the bone, corn on the cob. I like both of them now. I wish I knew what I was thinking back then. My 2-year-old puts her hand in front of the dog's mouth and cries when he licks her.